Welcome to another This Week in Coworking Discussion.
What is one thing that the co-working world can learn from what European co-working spaces are doing?
Yeah, I think, wow, there's so much going on
Yeah.
in Europe, and I'm just also learning even more at this conference. I think the key and what I'm hearing a lot, whether it be people talking about their offerings, sales funnels, things like that, is people really want flexible solutions. I think because our market is very volatile right now, especially I can speak confidently in Germany, people don't really know what's happening even 3 months, 6 months down the runway. So having more flexible solutions and customized solutions is definitely something that I know that we're implementing a lot more. Everything in our membership models to our daily offers to also just how we run our events, cafe, and things like that. So,
Do you think that's something that European co-working spaces do particularly well compared to the rest of the world, or is it something that everyone's kind of playing catch up on?
yes and no. I mean, again, Europe is a massive market, and I don't know all the players in Europe. We have over 50 impact hubs in Europe, and our raison d'etre is to service and provide value to social impact founders. Inherently, a lot of what we do is baked in with sustainability. Something that Impact Hub Berlin does really well, and that I know we're a leader in, is that we've built a space that's made out of over 70% of recycled, reused, and repurposed material. Everyone has a different taste, but I always say when you come into Impact Hub Berlin, don't expect to be coming into something like WeWork or Mindspace, which are amazing, beautiful spaces, of course, but we don't even have drywall because it's an unnecessary piece of material if you need to repair something. All of our pipes and beams are exposed so that if there's something that we need to repair or look at, then we don't have to bust through material to get there. So it's definitely its own acquired taste, but we've traveled to the Venice Biennale of their space.
The next question that I wanted to ask you is, there have been a lot of changes and developments made within the co-working world. What area of our industry or aspect of our industry do you think is going to be at the forefront of people's minds that's going to drive change and development over the next 10 years?
I mean, everyone's going to have a very different answer, I'm sure. And I'm coming from the head of community hat. So I'm really in the space with clients every day. And I think this is what's so interesting about co-working is that a lot of the times, if you're working in companies and you have users or clients, you're not really face to face quite literally with them every day. And that's something very unique about co-working. So the things that I tap into and that I'm seeing what people really want and why people are leaving other providers and coming to us is really simply that they want to feel that they have a place of belonging and a place of community. I think a few people at this conference have said it. If you are just an operator who is providing a desk and a chair in a nice looking space, that's not enough because we are creatures of comfort. We can also just stay home. We all have access, especially in Europe, to high speed internet. Although Berlin kind of sucks sometimes. So I think really having these extras and add-ons that really cater not just to luxury, but also this idea of community and giving the people a sense of belonging, having more personalized approaches. And what we were speaking about, like when people are walking in, small things like, hey, name, your first name, how is, and something more personal about them. These small things, I think, is definitely making a difference because the market is so oversaturated in Europe that even these small little things to make people feel like they matter and that they're not another random number on a sheet, I think is really what's going to drive people to the spaces, but also keep them longer.
I actually wrote an article about this recently about how you can't claim to sell community or use community as a sort of label for your co-working space if you don't participate in it, because you can't create and foster community without people on the ground. You can't cater to your community if you don't know your community. You can't know your community if you're not there.
Yeah, and I think people think, okay, I'm going to have a space with maybe an event space or have some lunch options because that inherently gets people to gather and that's community. Not at all. That's just like a glorified restaurant or a glorified office space. I mean, you can't just expect people to form relationships and deeper bonds by just putting them in one space together. What we always call is engineered serendipity. You have to make those moments and you have to facilitate the beginnings of those relationships.
Definitely.
And that's why we have not just a co-working team, we have an entire community team. I run a team of 5 people specifically on community. So it's really baked into everything that we do.
I could not agree with you more. The next question I wanted to ask you, especially with your space, we've spoken a lot about how your space differs so widely from others. In terms of your operations, are there any regulatory issues that have hindered you or helped you as a business, especially considering what you do is so unique?
Germany. So much.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the construction of our space, I only came at the tail end of it, but holy moly, there was a lot.
Yeah.
Regulatory bodies that made it quite difficult for us. We have something in Berlin and in Germany called Schutz, which is if you're building a space with some like historical or monument status, which made building a lot of our space, especially outside, quite difficult.
Yeah.
There's a lot of regulations around what materials you can use. And yeah, things that, we couldn't open certain floors because it took us a long time to get Brandschutz and the English word is escaping me, but fire security and fire protection.
Yeah.
So all these little things.
Yeah.
Also, of course, so that's just about building the space. But when we're talking about building more robust sales funnels and generating more leads and reaching out, I mean, there is in Europe especially a lot of regulations around following up, using AI in meetings, using AI in your sales funnel. And I think it's good for the customer side. It's very protective over them, but that does also limit us in what tools we can use and what we can automate currently right now. But this year, Europe is actually looking at having these AI policies so that we can navigate it a little bit more, because right now it's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially with something so new. It's difficult to put regulations in place when we don't quite understand it.
Yeah, and Europe has this approach coming from Canada. The way that I see it is that they say no a lot and they hinder you on a lot. And then the way that the policies and the regulations evolve is they kind of loosen that a little bit more. But in the beginning, it's always very strict.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful. Those are all my questions. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed speaking with you.
Brought to you by Syncaroo. Connect your stack and unblock your best people.